Welcome. One minute he's landing rockets on their tails, the next he's picking fights online. Today we're unlocking the puzzle that is Elon Musk. And welcome to Scholar. For those of you who are new here, we're the channel that dives deep into the fascinating, complex figures and ideas shaping our world, from science to culture. And boy, are we diving into a complex one today. Let's get right into it. You really have a tale of two Musks. On the one hand, you've got the absolute visionary, the guy who taught rockets how to land themselves and basically dragged the entire car industry kicking and screaming into the electric age. But then you have the other guy, the online provocateur who got into a bizarre, totally baseless feud with a hero cave diver and got slapped with millions in fines for a single tweet about Tesla stock. So this is the big question, right? How can one person be this generational genius and a self-sabotaging troll, sometimes in the exact same afternoon? Well, it turns out, to understand the billionaire visionary, you have to first understand the bullied child. According to his longtime friend and investor Antonio Gracias, we're often looking at the wrong part of his brain. We see the logician, the engineer, but his reactions, they often sprang from a much deeper, more primal place, a raw, instinctual fight or flight response. And many people close to him, and the biographers who studied him, believe this instinct has a clinical name: PTSD. It's a condition born from a brutal childhood, and it might just be the key that unlocks this whole puzzle. It means he often feels like he's under attack, even when he's literally on top of the world. You see, his childhood in South Africa was just this relentless state of siege, and Asperger's diagnosis made it hard for him to read social cues, which left him isolated. At school, the bullying was so vicious he was once beaten unconscious and needed surgery to fix his face. And then he'd go home, only to face what his own brother describes as constant mental torture from their father. So what did he do? He escaped. He escaped into books about science, technology, and superheroes. And in those stories, he found a new mission. He wasn't going to be the victim anymore. No, he was going to be the hero who saves the world. He just realized that, kind of like Batman, his superpower wasn't going to be flying or super strength. It was going to be cold, hard cash. And that drive, that need to escape and conquer, it would define his entire career. In his very first company, Zip2, we see the blueprint, the pattern that's going to repeat itself over and over and over again. You've got this incredible, way ahead of its time vision, but it's executed with a brutal, tyrannical management style. He drove everyone, including his own brother, relentlessly. Their arguments would sometimes end in actual physical wrestling matches. Eventually, the board just couldn't take it anymore and pushed him out of the CEO job. But in the end, the vision was right, the company sold, and Musk walked away with $22 million. Now for him, this was the ultimate proof. The cycle worked. The brutal intensity, the chaos, even the rustling, it all led to this huge payday. He had his method, and now he had the money to run the same play all over again, but this time, way bigger. His next company was X.com, a plan to completely revolutionize online banking. And guess what? The cycle repeated almost exactly. The intensity was just dialed up to 11. At one point, to intimidate the head of a rival company, a guy named Peter Thiel, Musk took him for a ride in his brand new McLaren supercar and immediately crashed it, just to prove he wasn't afraid of risk. His partners couldn't stand his dictatorial style, so they actually fired him while he was on his honeymoon. But again, the company he started, which merged to become PayPal, was sold. And this time, his payout was $250 million. Okay, now he wasn't just a millionaire. This was the kind of money that could actually fund those superhero dreams from his childhood. He could finally stop building things for the internet and start building the things he read about in books. So he immediately founded SpaceX, and the goal wasn't just to make a profit. No, the goal was to fulfill his childhood mission: save humanity by making us a multi-planetary species. It sounded completely insane. Everyone told him it was insane. But Musk had a secret weapon. He called it the foolishness index. This is his core genius. It's a relentless use of what physicists call first principles thinking. So instead of just accepting that a rocket costs a certain amount, he'd break it down to its most basic parts: aluminum, copper, titanium, and figure out how much the raw materials cost. If the gap between the material cost and the final price was huge, he knew the industry was just bloated and inefficient, and totally ripe for disruption. Check this out. A single valve for a rocket engine cost $120,000 on the open market. Musk had his engineers build one from scratch, basically adapting a part used in a car wash. The cost, $5,000. By doing this with literally everything, he did what NASA and Boeing said was impossible. But genius is one thing, and failure is another. When the very first SpaceX rocket launch failed, the traumatized boy from Pretoria came roaring back. Instead of taking responsibility for his own cost-cutting decisions, he publicly blamed a single engineer for the failure, adopting the same tactic his father used. Rewrite reality so you're never at fault. And you see this exact same pattern play out at Tesla. The mission, noble, world-changing, get the planet off fossil fuels. But the execution, pure Musk, brutal, with what employees called insane deadlines that created a culture of absolute burnout. So here's the crucial point. As former interim CEO Michael Marks explained it, working with Musk means you have to tolerate a genius who can also be a true asshole. What Marx saw was this stunning pattern. Musk would create an impossible crisis with his own crazy demands. Then, in the middle of all the chaos, he'd swoop in, work 20-hour days, and solve the very problem he created, and come out looking like the hero. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of crisis and salvation. So, this is where we're left, with this fundamental paradox. You have the man who can calculate the orbital mechanics to land a rocket on a tiny ship in the middle of the ocean, but can't stop himself from picking a petty fight on Twitter. You have the leader who inspires thousands to build the future, and the boss who completely burns them out with his tyrannical demands. It's the hero trying to save humanity, driven by the traumatized boy who could never really save himself. And this brings us to the final and most crucial question of all. Are these two people, the genius and the demon, actually separate? Or is the darkness, the paranoia, that constant feeling of being under siege, is that the very engine that fuels his world-changing ambition? Maybe the uncomfortable truth is that this chaotic, often destructive personality isn't a bug, it's a feature. It might just be the price we have to pay for this kind of radical progress. If you found this deep dive valuable, please do us a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to Scholar for more explainers on the people and ideas shaping our world. And be sure to check out the sources we used. They're all linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.